It's been 21 days since Hurricane Helene came and just barreled through western North Carolina, thoroughly destroying so much of the Appalachian Mountains out here. And everybody is still reeling from everything that has happened. And I know that there's been some coverage and some people talking about it, but there are a few key elements that people just don't understand. And I think this needs to be said. I think people need to know the truth behind what things look like 21 days out. I'm so thankful that we have this opportunity here. Our family's been sharing on YouTube for almost 7 years now, and it's always been our goal to encourage and just uplift other families and Christian women specifically, and all the studies and things that we do, and talking about all the homey things and what it means to build up our homes and to live the life that God has called us to. And going here, we are just outside of Asheville. We're slightly east of Asheville. We've lived in North Carolina for nearly 20 years after growing up in Southern California. And to us, this is home. This is where it's all at. It's where kids have been born and raised. And just what matters so much to us is this land out here, the people, the communities. And going through this here with Hurricane Helene has just been so surreal. And I know, we've been sharing about it and what's going on and what it means in the bigger picture of everything for our family and for our lives. But I'm noticing a lot, as we've kind of gotten power back, internet kind of comes and goes. We're kind of trying to work through the aftermath of all of this and dealing with all of the destruction and everything that's going on. There's a few key pieces that I keep seeing in the bits of news coverage we have seen and the comments I get from people and just conversations and things being had. There's a few key elements that nobody's really talking about outside of kind of those of us here living this. And even those of us who are here living it, it's the process of trying to go through all of this that's really, really difficult. And we don't really know the right words to say sometimes. And so I wanted to just kind of chat through this with you all here today and share kind of some of the firsthand footage we're seeing all around us as we try to recover, 3 weeks into this ordeal. And honestly, most days it doesn't feel like we've even made any forward momentum. What really kind of stood out to me is it amazes me to see, I'm going to pull out one comment in particular, but I'm seeing a lot of this going around. And some amazingly kind and loving individual left me the comment that said, "Surviving Helene was easy to do if you weren't in the areas hit. Your property is intact. You didn't have to be rescued. So what did you survive? A power outage?" Sure, buddy, a power outage. Let's talk about some pieces that nobody understands. Just because you have a home doesn't mean nothing happened. Our home is indeed still standing. Some of us out here, our homes are still standing. And trust me, we understand what a blessing that is, considering many of our neighbors, our friends, our loved ones, literally barely fled out of their homes as they were swallowed up by rivers and taken out by landslides. Nothing that anyone could prepare for, nothing that anyone could foresee happening. Trust me when I say those of us who still actually have a home standing, we understand the importance of that. We feel the weight of that when we know those closest to us didn't all get that same opportunity. Just because our home is still standing doesn't mean that there's not a lot of damage done. Now, I don't personally know what this person deems to be property intact or not. My barn is destroyed. My animals have nowhere to go. I have trees coming down all over my property. My driveway no longer exists. And we are constantly still 3 weeks out clearing trees, moving fences, and dealing with all kinds of things out and about on the property due to the damage sustained, let alone the massive drop in temperature and the high winds we've had with Hurricane Nadine that just came through this week as well. So I'm not sure what counts as property intact. I don't feel like my property is intact, considering I have a world of issues on my plate I'm currently dealing with. But for those of us who aren't sure, maybe this area, right? You don't know. Different parts of our country, we can do different things. Our basement filled with water due to all of the flooding. Yes, we had just a power outage for a week, but that meant for a week we couldn't thoroughly dry anything. We pushed out water, we did many things, but we couldn't actually dry stuff out. Many of us out here had trees fall on our home. We had roofs, damaged. We had windows broken. We had a lot of moisture that made its way into our homes. We already live somewhere where there is a lot of water. We live in the South. That's why everything's so green. We do have a lot of water. We have a lot of humidity. So even for those of us that maybe didn't have our homes completely washed away, there was so much moisture, so much water that came in, be it through, like us, a flooded basement. Good friends of ours, many friends have had trees come through their roofs or just windows bashed out with falling debris. Your home fills with moisture and water. You can't do anything about it to thoroughly get it dried out, right? You can't run dehumidifiers. You can push out as much as you can, but you really can't run what you need to. Here in the summer, you keep an air conditioner going all throughout the summer, regardless of how hot it is, just to help pull the moisture out of the air so things don't start mildewing. So those of us that still have homes intact, we're dealing with a lot of mold. We're dealing with ruined appliances. Our family lost nearly all of our clothing. We've literally had to go, and thankfully we've had amazing donations and areas and things coming in, but we've had to go in the midst of all of this and just find clothing to wear because all of our clothes have been destroyed. There's not much that hasn't been affected. So yes, some of us still do have our home standing, and trust me, we understand, we're thankful for that. But this is where we say that this isn't going to be a quick or easy recovery process, because most all of us are out here systematically trying to keep life together, do all the things that we need to be doing while going through our homes, deep cleaning everything, assessing what's even still good. What do we have to get rid of? What's going to make it? What do we have to do? And so just because someone still has a home standing doesn't mean they haven't necessarily sustained any sort of damage here in the aftermath of Helene. That leads me to the second point, which honestly, got to get in with my dentist yesterday because I'm having a toothache on top of all of these other things that would be kind of seemingly normal things to go deal with. But right now we're trying to balance all of the stuff, and it's so much. But the survivor's guilt. It is so hard with the level of destruction and life loss, trying to pick up each day and find a new normal. And every time you turn around, you're being reminded of just how bad this was. Trust me, I know that I can be grateful for the fact that I do have a house to even get to be working on. And now we have to remove all the mold. We have to pull out all the things. All the drywall is going to have to come out. I mean, we have so many things that are going to have to be done. But you're right. At least I do have that. You don't think that doesn't eat away at me? When our temperature has dropped so cold here in the past couple days, we literally have snow up in the mountains around us. And I know so many of my own community are having to still live out of a tent. You're right. I am thankful that we've been able to move inside a little bit more now that we do have some power and we have water and we have some things like that. But that guilt that you feel every time you run into someone else in town and you're checking on someone else, and I haven't been able to get a hold of this person. Has anyone heard from them? I don't know if they're okay or not. And then you feel so bad that you can at least clean out your fridge and have a fridge that works again. You can at least take a shower again in an actual bathroom with hot water. Those of us that are up here that are going through this, and many I know that have gone through things like this before, that guilt you feel that you're trying to balance, just to have people that are so unkind and insensitive to make such horrible comments like the ones we see. I mean, I've seen them in my videos, I've seen them in others. Why weren't you prepared? Why weren't you I don't know how to prepare for it. Like what? How does one prepare for what we had happen? I don't know how one prepares for that. The guilt you feel when you want to go and you want to do more, you feel bad to take any assistance or anything because you know so many others have it worse around you, and you just want to do anything that you can to help them. That's why we're talking about these things. That's why we're continuing to raise funds and to do this and to continue to facilitate resources and drop-offs and things that we can to pour back into our community, because yes, we're having to rebuild our lives, but we want to do all that we can to help our neighbors as well. The guilt of this is one of those things that is I mean, we see it in our children. It's so interesting to try to navigate through. I've never had to learn how to deal with survivor's guilt after going through a once in a lifetime crazy, weather happening here for our area. That's something that isn't going to just go away overnight. And I don't really think that's something anybody else really understands. Now, those of us who are going through it, we're looking at each other and going, yeah, I know. It's okay. But God, we know, one day at a time. But it's difficult. Another point that I don't think people really understand is just how huge the external impact is to each and every one of our lives. Even for those in areas that weren't that impacted. Again, whatever that line of impact is that, keyboard warriors want to set up for us. Everywhere you go, things are disrupted. You go to the store, sometimes there's groceries, sometimes there's not. Sometimes you can use a card, sometimes it's cash only. Sometimes you can get gasoline, sometimes you can't. Some roads you can get up to, some roads you can't. I mean, the amount of damage that is still happening. Roads are still giving out. Trees are still coming down. Every time you think you've made some sort of forward progress, more happens. And you got to go back and you got to figure it out. The external impact to this. Hardly any people out here with real physical jobs can go to work. So many businesses have been destroyed. The area's largest employer, their entire facility has been just destroyed. So many companies aren't even releasing the numbers because so many of their employees are still unaccounted for, which, let's be honest, we all know what that means. That even to try to get back up into progress and to making things happen again, a whole new process is going to have to go down because those people aren't with us any longer. And I'm not talking just buildings need to get cleaned up and fixed up. Buildings don't exist. Roads don't exist. Bridges are gone. My brother got the opportunity that they could reopen the store he works at. There's no power, there's no internet, everything's being done by hand and kind of hodgepodge together. It used to be a 20 to 30 minute trek up the mountain for him to get to work. He's now driving either twice as long on a 1-lane gravel sketchy road up the mountain, or when that gives out periodically, which it does, he's making an almost 2-hour trip one way. Remember, it used to take 20 to 30 minutes. Now it's taking just under 2 hours, sometimes longer, depending on what all goes on. Having to go all around mountain passes and up and around and whatever to get up there. The impact is massive. It's not just some homes that were destroyed. It was entire towns, entire resources. It just, again, I know that if you're not living it, it doesn't really impact your life, right? So I get some people's ignorance and assumptions to things because we all do that, right? You didn't live down in Louisiana during Hurricane Katrina, so you don't know exactly, right? You don't understand how just out of the norm this was, and how deeply this has impacted even the external area of life. So even for people that got zero damage done to their home, even for people that have very minimal amounts of molding or any issues like that, everything around you, every road you drive on, every store you try to go to, right, everything that you need to do has been impacted by this. So it's not just, well, I have some damage in my house, or I have some trees that are down, or some barns that need to be, somehow magically rebuilt. Trying to get groceries is a feat. Trying to get to appointments, finding out my son needs to go see a specialist. And guess where that specialist was? Asheville. I can't even get, like, so you start going through all the things, just seemingly normal things that need to happen. It doesn't exist right now. Everybody's hodgepodging something together to try to get by. It's not just one problem you're dealing with, it's everywhere you look. It's a new set of problems and hurdles and things that you have to create a new normal to figure out and get through. It leads me to my next point, which is people don't understand just how detrimental the impact is to the economy of most of the towns out here. Now, you can look up lists and you can see towns that are open for visitors and tourists and local economy. They're posting and they're saying, hey, we're the ones that are open. I'm in a town that's not open. My whole town, like, everything has been shut off, right? And like put back because everything's been canceled. Every slate has been wiped clean because nothing can go on right now. I was a wedding planner and wedding florist for years. My husband and I, we owned a business. That is what we did. I've been saying this since the storm happened. I said, I'm quite thankful that we are in ministry full time. Most people who who are in the event industry throughout COVID and things like that, it just destroyed so many businesses. The areas up here along the Blue Ridge Parkway, October is like prime month where most family businesses make their money to get them through the winter. Tourism, weddings, things like that, event rentals, vacation rentals, things like that out here are huge. We've got the Biltmore Estate there, we've got the Blue Ridge Parkway right back there, and all these little towns in between that literally the whole town's economy revolves around tourism and events, weddings, vacations. All of that has been destroyed. We have a lot of family farms out here. Family farms have been destroyed. The farming community coming together, trying to help one another out so that we can prepare to try to get through the winter. That's what we're really having to lean in right now. But understanding the impact that this is going to have on a long-term basis. Again, I keep saying long-term because people really need to understand this. October is always our busiest month for weddings. It's always the busiest, right? Starts up in September. October is like prime month. And then November, you start to come down a little bit. The tourism coming through the Blue Ridge Parkway and seeing the leaves and going through the little towns and all the festivals and things that we hold every single week with all the stuff going on, all of that's been canceled for most every town out here. Like I said, there are a few that are open. And so if you want to find somewhere to support, check out those lists and resources so you can go visit them and support them. But for many of us, the destruction is so huge that there is no way we can accommodate the type of tourism and events and festivals and fairs and things like that that normally keep all of these small towns alive. And so again, that just adds to the point that, yeah, we're all still in emergency mode here. Everywhere you look, there are emergency crews in. There is search and rescue. There is, military helping now. We're finally getting more military and helping to recover things and to do this stuff. There's no like magic wand that's coming in and saying, oh, here's money to take care of the things that need to be taken care of. You know, here's resources to get everything fixed for you. That's not what's happening. And I get it, life is what life is, but when you have small towns that rely so much on a certain type of economy, and now that is just not going to be happening. It's not going to happen this year. And moving forward, it's not going to go back to normal. We're all going to have to find a new normal and adjust to it, because we are talking a very long path ahead to try to recoup any of that that's been lost. Now, my fifth and final point that I would love to share with you guys, that it's so important to understand this when you are looking at ways that you can help, ways that you can get involved. It's fall, right? It's the autumn time of the year and things start getting cooler. This last storm system just brought in cold temperatures like that. We went from having cool, but you could get comfortable nights to freezing very, very quickly. We have many still living out of tents. Many. We have many living in their homes, but their homes are compromised. It got very cold very quickly. Literal snow in the mountains around us. And all of a sudden, it just takes everything that you are already trying to get through and ramps that up a notch, because now you're trying to find ways to, dry out the firewood that you have around you, try to get fires up and going, try to, really rush now. For us, we have a whole barn that needs to be like rebuilt. I can't make that happen. So then we're going, okay, we have animals that have to be taken care of. What do? We rely on our barn, right? We use that. That's something we need. Well, we're going to have to come up with some other option, because it got real cold real fast. We have neighbors that need stuff. It's cold. We're all going around. We're passing out, our family, we were able to, I made sure we went somewhere and they had some stuff. I'm like, everybody find a coat, warm coats, trying to find space heaters, trying to find little like wooden camping stoves, right? Trying to find these different things that can be utilized. It got cold really fast. And when your homes are compromised, your businesses aren't able to run at normal function, resources and things that you need, power's still cutting in and out. A whole mass community of people covering multiple states needing to find a way to like live semi off grid overnight, that takes a lot of resource. And so those are those things that if you're looking for ways that you want to help, you want to do warm stuff, camping supplies, camping stoves, right? Ways to make heat. And we've put together an Amazon list, and so many of you have been so amazing, and you've been donating. We're over a fifth of the way there to our goal with funds that we're raising for the relief efforts here, connecting with different churches, helping out others, trying to pour together, and everybody who has resources, getting them to places so that way things can continue on, items that are in need. We've been putting all of that on there, and I'll have it all linked down below. When you guys watch these videos, you share them, you continue to push these things on. It really does help so much, because all of us here, the church has been the backbone. The community is trying. We're trying to help one another rebuild. But again, it's going to take a long time. I know I sound like a broken record, but understanding the impact of this now with the freeze already coming onto us and how cold it's getting so quickly up here in the mountains, it really just puts that extra level on it of, oh man, we thought we were trying to make some progress, but now that progress meter just got, skyrocketed up because it's cold. And it's only going to get colder, obviously. And so I think it's really important that when you're seeing these people talking about what they're going through with Hurricane Helene, Are there governmental things here assisting to some degree? Yeah, there is something to some degree. I don't think it's quite what they're trying to act like it is on the news. We've seen some clips, friends have sent us of the just mainstream media news, and we're like, what are they talking about? I don't know. I'm not saying that doesn't exist anywhere, but ain't nobody I know has heard of, what's going on there. The churches are all working at full speed, trying to take donations in. Families are going around trying to help out neighbors. Farmers are coming together trying to help out neighbors, trying to pull things together. People like you who are watching our videos, who are sharing our videos, who are donating and sending supplies and needed products, that's having an impact. It's having a major impact. But please know that when we share these things, we're sharing them because the level of burden that this destruction has caused is genuinely that huge. It looks like you're in a war zone nearly everywhere you go. This part of town might look totally normal. This part of town doesn't exist. There are trees with cars crumpled up around them. There are trailers and, massive dumpsters. I mean, big, heavy Conex tractor trailers and all of these things that are just mangled around. Big steel beams that used to be bridges and roadways look like somebody crumpled up a can and threw it to the side. You can't go near any body of water out here right now. They're pulling out so many remains each and every day. And our lakes, our rivers, we have so much around here. Sediment and buildup from the flooding is so deep and smells so awful, because you know what that means. The missing peoples list that all of our communities are sharing are just filled with people. And unfortunately, between the sediment and the water and everything that's gone on, we don't know how many will even be able to be recovered. Trying to check in with loved ones and hear from others everywhere we go, just normal, trying to do anything. Our library finally opened and it was such a blessing. We took the kids so they could at least do something normal, like get some new books. And just checking in with everyone. Hey, have you heard from so-and-so? Hey, how's this person? Hey, how's this? How's that? It's just quite disheartening because it really is that big. And it doesn't mean that there aren't blessings within it. It doesn't mean that there aren't lessons and provisions and all of the things that we know the Lord will use the situation for. And I promise you, we're going to continue going through and sharing this. I think there are many great conversations to be had that all of us can learn from, all of us can glean from in this information and say, wow, I can learn from that. I can apply this. I can do that. But I think it's important that we understand that there's a lot to this that isn't really being talked about, but it needs to. For those of us here trying to heal through this, and for the rest of the world out there watching and seeing what's going on. I'm sharing here on our channel, I'm sharing all of this footage, I'm sharing all the things we're seeing, and I know many others are as well. Keep praying for those affected. Remember when you see these things that you might see people that look like, well, they must be okay. That doesn't mean they're not still going through it, struggling through it, and then really, really having a hard time deep down inside because they know so many of their neighbors and friends and loved ones had it even worse. But God, one day at a time, we know that He will continue to work and move and use all situations to bring glory to His name, as we know who our true provider, where our true safety and security comes from. And the blessing of community and togetherness and all of this, to see the provisions being given and the hearts and hands willing to help one another has been absolutely beautiful. But if you want ways to help and to get involved, again, I will leave all of those links down below in the description. You have a story that you would like to share, leave us a message, let us know. We're going to continue, so subscribe, turn on your little bell notifications, sign up for our email update down below in the description box. Because we want to keep sharing, we want to keep doing these things. We want to talk about the brighter side to all of it, while still holding on to the truth and just the enormity of what's going on here around us. I don't know about y'all, but trusting mainstream media to do the things is not my go-to. I want to hear it from people who are there and who are living it and have no reason to maybe adjust and change what's actually going on all around them. Pray for our community and our area and for our family as we're all trying to stay healthy and keep moving forward and doing all of the things, when I will be honest, some days it's a little heavy. It's a little much to try to keep finding the brighter side of it all when you're seeing just so much destruction everywhere you look. I appreciate you all being here, and I'm thankful to have the opportunity to get to share with you all a little bit of what's going on here in our home that we love so much. We've got a long road ahead, and there's one thing you can say for mountain folk. It is not for the faint of heart, because they are there for one another. They're still going strong. I love you all. I thank you for being here, for watching. Please share this video, comment and like and subscribe and all of the things so that we can continue to serve the Lord faithfully each and every day in whatever capacity He puts before us. I'll see you on the next one. Bye, friends.